All for day and good afternoon. The Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing is now called to order. Today is Friday, October 23rd. The time now is 2:04. Welcome to everyone connected by Zoom and those tuning in via television or the YouTube channel. Thank you for your patience and accommodating the Zoom platform while we maintain social distancing mandates. Notice for this virtual public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on Friday, October 16th and Wednesday, October 21st. On the agenda today, we have two bills, both authored by Senator Therese Terlai. The first one we're going to entertain is Bill 353-35 CR as introduced by Senator Therese Terlai. An act to authorize the Guam Visitor Bureau to expend all funds available in the rainy day fund for the remaining fiscal year 2020. And then following immediately after that bill, we'll go ahead and address Bill 396-35 CR, introduced by Senator Therese Terlai and co-sponsored by Senator Clint Rigel, myself, and Madam Speaker Tina Rosemena Barnes, an act to approve the terms and conditions to refund all or a portion of the Government of Guam Hotel Occupancy Tax Revenue Bonds Series 2011A. With that note, the general rules of the conduct of this hearing, the Zoom meeting will be hosted by my staff and we'll mute all Zoom participants until called upon by myself. Members of the committee and or non-members wishing to speak may indicate their desire to me through the in-app chat feature. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by me before speaking and begin by stating their name for record-keeping purposes. When called to speak, please ensure that you are unmuted. Committee members will be allowed to pose a question to an individual testifying. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the bill, which is specifically Bill 353-35. Personal inference as to the character or the motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in removal from the public hearing by the host. Please ensure that your video remains on throughout the hearing. Participants must be visible at all times and not engage in other activity during the hearing. If you need to take a drink, take a drink. If you're eating a snack, feel free. I have no problem with that one. Failure to maintain visibility may cause your removal from the meeting live stream. I'd like to thank my colleagues for attending this afternoon hearing, and I know that there's a Surgeon General hearing that's going on right now, but thank you for being here. And I have the author of the two bills, Senator Therese Terlai, and we're also joined by Senator Tello Taidui, the minority leader. I'd like to ask Senator Therese Terlai to provide an opening statement for Bill 353-35 COR. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for having this hearing. And I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the chairperson of the Guam Visitors Bureau, Mr. Sunny Atta, and of course the Vice President of the Guam Visitors Bureau, Mr. Jerry Paris. Thank you for being here along with GVB staff. We also have the GIDA Deputy Director, Ms. Joanne Comacho. Thank you again for being here. And so this Bill 353 was introduced at the request of GVB, who immediately, when the tourism industry had to shut down because of the COVID-19 pandemic, went into action. So the board approved, well, first I want to say that the bill is an act to authorize the Guam Visitors Bureau to expend all funds available in the rainy day fund for the remaining fiscal year 2020. We did receive a fiscal note that estimates it might be 1.27 million, but we will get an update on that today. But in the vision of those senators before us, they had established a rainy day fund for GVB, and it was to be used upon economic or natural disasters. And it allowed GVB, by resolution of its own board, to access 50% of that rainy day fund, which GVB has done pursuant to resolution of its board. And the statute requires that they recite the activities to be undertaken to mitigate the potential harm to Guam's tourism industry, and that insufficient funds are available for such activities. And so that is what they've outlined in their resolution and in their plans. And the statute also provides that if the activities to be undertaken require funding greater than the amount available, the 50%, then they apply to the legislature for an additional amount. So our bill proposes that we give them the entire remaining amount, which is the another 50%. And so GVB had resolved by resolution that to expend up to the remaining 50% of the rainy day fund to support pandemic recovery efforts, rebuild air seat capacity, support travel agents and local tourism related businesses. And so it's for these purposes, Mr. Chair, that we've introduced this bill, and we hope to get the consensus of all our colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Therese. Yes, I'm in full support of this. I would ask, let's begin with, I guess, either the chairman, Mr. Sonny Atta, or the vice general manager. So which one of you would like to start off? Mr. Chair?
Let me go ahead, if I may.
Yes, sir.
On behalf of the board, and Jerry and his team will take care of the nuts and bolts of the bill. So I really, on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank Senator Therese for introducing the bill and all the co-sponsors, as well as the senators participating here today. Yeah, of course, I'm not gonna preach to the choir or sing to the choir. We all know the situation pretty much. Again, you're looking into a little more finer detail on the bill, but I just want to say that we've been talking about the dire situation we're in, and the GVB's mode or needs, where it needs to be, has shifted in a way to help support the build up in different ways we never imagined. But I just want to put this out there, that we can't lose sight of the fact that we still have a great advantage being 3 to 4 hours away from Japan and Korea, our key markets. And so once we're able to, to get this spread under control, I think the gears are ready to roll and spin and move towards capturing the two primary markets that again, I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that we have that great advantage, even though Hawaii may be ahead of the game at this point, but we still have the advantage of being close, and we want to work towards that very much. So with that, again, I'll go ahead and pass it over to our Vice President, Dr. Jerry Paris. And just one final note, the board is very, stands behind this leadership team at the Bureau, and the staff and management. We're just continue to be impressed by them, and are very thankful for their hard work and dedication throughout the pandemic. So thank you.
Mr. Paris, sir.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Chairman Atta. Those remarks are well appreciated by the staff. And also thank you, Senator Therese, for introduction of this bill. And I don't have to go over a lot of the issues about where we are today, but the reality is that the pandemic has affected the very core of our island economy, and really has caused significant disruptions, not only to the tourism industry, but to the very social and economic fabric of our community. And the tourism industry, hard hit as well, which includes the cancellation of flights, hotels ceasing regular operations, mass closure or curtailment of the retail, service, and entertainment establishments. The whole value chain of our tourism product is basically, disrupted. So from February to September in 2020, Guam has seen over 85% drop in visitor arrivals. We foresaw these double-digit negative numbers continuing for the next few months, resulting in a significant decline in revenues. So it will take some time and a significant amount of resources to really rebuild our tourism industry because, as we have repeatedly said, it doesn't look like we're going to have a V-shaped recovery as we have experienced before from typhoons or earthquakes or even the SARS pandemic, which lasted 5 months or so for us to recover. And so we're all facing the situation of a recovery that would be a long crawl out. Not only because of new paradigms in the way the tourism industry sales and distribution is being managed, but also the manner in which our host destinations are able to receive our visitors. And so there's a structural disruption in the typical model of our tourism industry. As most of you know, tourism is a very volume-driven industry and the hospitality industry is also very touchy-feely. So basically what we're facing in terms of recovery is counter to the very essence of what makes this industry work. So that's the other issue that we need to address in terms of our crawl out from the abyss, so to speak. So it'll take time and significant resources to build our industry. And of course, the Bureau continues to stay in touch with our overseas markets, overseas offices, and industry stakeholders. And as we continue to stay in touch, we continue to plan aggressively for recovery in our key markets. So funding support is necessary to coordinate our marketing efforts once the tide starts to turn around. And we would appreciate very much the support of the legislature for the remaining balance of the rainy day fund, which we are obviously very sensitive because the last part of the fiscal year show drops in arrivals. And so we're very sensitive to the fact that even though we have the authority to spend the balance of the funds for the fiscal year, we're mindful that some of these spending authorizations may not be supported by the tourist attraction fund income in reality. So while we appreciate the support for the balance of the rainy day fund, we wanted also to let you know that we are aware of the sensitivity of cash backing the tourist attraction fund, and we'll be mindful of that. So GVB respectfully requests the legislature's authorization to expend the remaining 50% of the rainy day fund to support not only the pandemic recovery effort, but to help rebuild our air seat capacity and support for our travel partners, as well as, in particular, local tourism-related businesses. So thank you for allowing us to testify in support of this bill, Senator Terlahi and Senator Agustin, and really I would appreciate the enactment of this measure.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. I'd like to also recognize that we do have Josie Villanueva, the comptroller from GVB. We have Nadine Languero, also from GVB, and we also have Nico Fujikawa. Let me see. I'd like to see if do any of the other GVB folks would like to speak, or would you like to? And maybe I'll ask the Vice General Manager, or was the Deputy Director Gita, if she would like to do any testimony in reference to this. Former First Lady Joanne Camacho, do you have anything, ma'am, you want to say? Go ahead and unmute first.
Yes, Senator. And just as the chairman has expressed and the vice president expressed, we really need the funds to help support the tourism industry. I can't express how much, I mean, it'd be very, very valuable. So whatever support you can give us, I appreciate it. It'll help the team and really help go on, recover much faster. I'm here for the next bill. I do have, though, with me, I have Tina Garcia. And I have Diego Mendiola. Am I frozen?
There you go.
He's on site. He's on mute.
I think Joanne is very modest, but she also sits on the GVB board. So we appreciate your support, Joanne.
Of course.
All right, Senator Therese, if you have any questions on the chairman or the vice president.
Yeah, a couple. So first of all, I just wanted to clarify. So the fiscal note from BBMR outlines a $1.27 million balance in the rainy day fund. Is that what you are also looking at? Is that the amount that you see would be released by this bill?
Josie, would you want to address that?
Yes, Senator Therese, that's about 1,247,431.62 at this time.
Okay, thank you. And then at the time, so this fiscal note will become part of the record on this bill. And BBMR had raised a question, so I would like for you to explain right now so that in case my colleagues who were not able to make it today also have the same question. So BBMR pointed to past audits, FY18 audit that had showed a balance of 13,885,000 available to GVB, it said. And then of course the FY19 balance, which just, audit, which just came out recently, also shows a 15.848, and it's called a cash unrestricted balance. But so they suggested that GVB might be able to use that instead of the rainy day fund balance. So if you could just please explain why that is possible or not possible.
Yeah, yes, I can start explaining that, Senator, and then Josie and the rest of the team can chime in. That tends to be a little bit misleading because the 13 and then the $15 million from the last audit actually did not recognize the fact that there is a lot of commitments and a lot of allocated funds already that the board had passed. And so it isn't that we have the $15 million actually, because those funds have either been already committed or reserved for a specific expenditure that we anticipate coming up. And that's still a very iffy situation, like I said earlier, because of the tourist attraction fund, not bringing in as much cash. So even though those allocations are there, they've already been allocated and committed for specific projects, whether it has to do with the stormwater management system or other uses. So those funds are not available, basically.
All right, and so all 15 million or approximately 10 million of it is committed. Is that right?
Yes.
And okay, and but you've taken a careful look at those commitments and you're continuing to review and confirm that those are still necessary in these times, and that being very careful how you proceed with that money. Is that correct? Absolutely.
And top of the list, as you probably have been monitoring our discussion in some of our meetings, is the flooding issue down in Tumon and the need to really clear out the remaining 2 culverts that have not been cleaned for 20 some years.
All right, thank you. And then, so Mr. Chair, the GVB had proposed, well, the rainy day fund, total was 2.2 million. So they had made a plan for the use of 2.2 million and laid that out several months ago, but again, updated it. And I don't know if they want to give just a very brief update on how they intend to spend this additional 1.5 or the total 2.2 from the rainy day fund, just so that we know that this is in addition to their regular expenditures at GVB.
If I can start off and then maybe ask Nadine if she can chime in, but fundamentally, what was sent to the legislature earlier had to be adjusted downward because of emerging situations. And so the dollar amounts for our marketing effort in these different markets have been revised downward. And, you know, we'll keep reviewing that to see if it will hold or we need to make further adjustments, but we have hardly anything. And so Nadine, can you go ahead and add to that concern?
Sure. For the $2.2 million plan that was submitted, in actuality, 1 million was from GVB's FY 2020 operational funds, and then the 1.2 was from the rainy day. So the plan includes both funding sources. Most of the funds actually were for local projects, and some of them have been proceeding on, others are on hold. For specifically for the marketing, we were looking at about $1 million, actually a little less than $1 million for marketing specifically. We did have, I should say, we have a program that's pending launch when Guam's ready, that includes subsector support for our optional tours and our tour guides. We also have in-country research that is pending when the time is right to do the studies. And we also have some social media programs as well that's ready to run when we're ready.
The social media, what is that for? I mean, that's different than marketing to the Asian countries?
So for the social media plan, it, in addition to marketing to the different source markets, really we wanted to focus some efforts to Guam so that we can make sure that we're ready. We didn't want to just, we knew that bringing the local population along on the journey for Guam to be ready to be open and welcome our visitors, our local population had to feel comfortable with the current situation. So we wanted to bring everybody along so that we were all in this together.
I'd like to point out for my colleagues that that part of the plan, the social media, is estimated at 500,000. That's one of the biggest portions of this 2.2 million. The other large portion is that subsector optional tour and tour guide support program, which Nadine talked about. That's about $651,000. And maybe Nadine, if you could just explain a little bit about that, because I'd like that to be on the record. Yeah.
Sure. So for the subsector support, we have over 300 tour guides that are registered for Guam. And once we're able to have the businesses operating and have the tour guides in place, our plan is actually trying to help them bring their revenue source back to the island, not only our visitors, but even online opportunities for them. So we'll be able to help them with setting up tours that they can film virtually. And we also have a planned staycation program that, again, we're waiting for us to be ready. That includes the optional tours and the tour guides. So once we launch the program, our local population will be able to win prizes that include supporting the subsectors. So they can participate in optional tours, be a tourist for a day on their own island. They'll get a guided tour. We also wanted to make it so that people would feel comfortable. And one of the ideas we had was, because of social distancing, trying to keep all of those people in the same car or vehicle might be an issue, depending upon what the situation is. So we actually wanted to station the tour guides at the tour sites, or scenic sites, I should say. And so now you don't have to make prior arrangements. You don't have to be in close contact with the tour guide. They meet you at the site. They're also helping out with social distancing at the different tourist sites and whatnot. And that way they're able to essentially have a job, because right now, obviously no tourists are coming. They're not working, and we want to support them. They're
Yes.
vital to our industry.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and Senator Therese, I'd also like to underscore that what Nadine is talking about is actually where the rubber meets the road. But the fundamental issue here is that the drop in tourism arrivals have decimated our institutional capacity, both locally accepted norms as well as the capacity to handle tourists. So what this program can do, in effect, is try to crawl back and try to generate green shoots of support and opportunity for capacity building of the industry again, which has been decimated by the drop off in arrivals. So that's one key background to that initiative. The other thing is we cannot overstate enough the need to really convince our local residents about the disease and us overcoming the disease. But more importantly, it is an opportunity for local residents to really see for themselves what we have that makes people want to come visit the island. And so in that manner, they can also buy into the industry and become a part owner of this wonderful industry called tourism.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chair, I have no further questions on this bill, unless any of the other senators.
Thank you, Senator Therese. Senator Tello, do you have any questions on the folks present today?
Well, I'd like to say hello to my old family over there at GVB. I'm so sorry we're all going this, but we're doing this together, going through this together, and I support this legislation. I just want to make a note on the bill itself, to ensure that the Title 12, Chapter 9, Article 13 is correct, because we have two rainy day funds. We have the Government of Guam Rainy Day Fund and we have the GVB Rainy Day Fund. So to ensure that the legislation has the correct title and chapter on the bill is my only concern here. That's all. And I wish you guys the very best. Anything that we can do to help our GVB family, I'm here, stand ready. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator Tello. I think it's correct. We'll just double check it with the author of the bill to make sure that we got the right code, and I don't think we're having a problem. Right, Senator Therese?
Correct.
No, yeah, I think it just needs to be, I don't see the code on there. And I think Josie saw that too.
Okay, we'll fix that. We'll fix that one. There is no one else to testify, and I'm in full support of this bill. Wish we had another source of funding to provide you so that not only invite the people of Guam to participate in the tourism rebuild, but also, I mean, I drive by Tuman once a week, guaranteed I go by there. And I like to see everything fixed so that when the tourism starts, they're ready to roll. The roads are great because I see the stores, and I just believe that we're going to be able to get back on our feet. I'm just that confident. But I like to find another source to help GVB in addition to this rainy day fund. But Senator Therese, if you like to put a closing, we can wrap this one up, and I'll get this bill ready to go for the next session.
No, I don't think I have anything else to say, Mr. Chair. Just thank you to those at GVB for their continued work, and especially for their assistance to the Department of Public Health in sending out the message, using your marketing skills and our destination management to really manage our response to COVID. I very much appreciate that. And I think we continue to need your full help in that regard. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. That being said, I'd like to thank everyone for attending the virtual public hearing for Bill 353-35 COR and providing feedback and suggestions. The virtual public hearing is now adjourned. It is now 2:33, and now we will begin the discussion on Bill 396-35. And we have the same folks on, so I don't think I have to read the rules of engagement here. We're pretty much the same. And we'll just ask Bill 396-35 as an act to approve the terms and conditions to refund all or a portion of the Government of Guam Hotel Occupancy Tax Revenue Bond Series 2011A. And I ask Senator Therese to give her opening statement, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, welcome to those from GVB and from GITA. So this bill 396 would authorize the refunding of the current hot bonds, the hotel occupancy tax bonds, and it additionally allows GVB to take whatever savings we might be able to accomplish from that refunding and use it for operations for this first fiscal year. And of course, we know this, we're calculating this is necessary, or we want to do this because we want GVB to have additional funds to continue to keep our tourism industry viable, despite the challenges from lack of travel, obviously. So this was a provision, Mr. Chair, that you had included in the substitute budget bill that we had on the floor with us, but I had motioned that it be removed so that it could be considered separately, because that was the first time that the public or the senators had an opportunity to review it. So we just wanted to be able to give an opportunity for public input on this refunding of the bond. And there's been some talk, Mr. Chair, about the viability of the tourist attraction fund, given the decrease in travelers, which, the tourist attraction fund gets revenue based on traveler, based on hotel occupancy. So I think in this fiscal year, the government of Guam had to subsidize that those bond payments for the hot bond. If I'm not mistaken, the tourist attraction fund revenues were obviously did not meet their mark. So that decrease in revenue was covered by the current general fund. So this, we're just hoping, will decrease the bond payments that are due every year for the remainder of the term of the bond. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. I'll ask the chairman, or before I go to the chairman, maybe, the chairman would like to speak about this bill, and then the vice president, and then we're going to go to the GITA folks, all right?
Thank you, Senator. And I'll be very brief. Again, I want to thank yourself and Senator Therese and those who supported this bill. When management first came to the board about looking at, with our change in our financial situation at the Bureau, and came up with the idea of the bond refinancing, we gave it total support, and thus we're here today. Again, our vice president and the staff will be, the management and staff here will be able to address the nuts and bolts. But on behalf of the board of directors, including Joanne Camacho next to me on this video screen here, we thank you very much for the support, especially your office, Senator Therese. Thank you very much for your support.
Mr. Perez, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Mr. Chairman. And again, Senator Therese, thank you for introducing this legislation. Let me take you back just a few months when Carl and I first came on board, and we were faced with the prospect of huge revenue shortfalls because of the drop in arrivals. And so early on, we looked at this liquidity issue, because liquidity is a very important aspect of running a business. And in some of our planning matrix discussions, we addressed not only the small businesses and GITA's ability to respond and help them with their loans and grants, but we also look at ourselves, GVB, because we too are faced with a liquidity problem. And while this might not be the perfect answer, we saw the possibility of refinancing the hotel revenue bonds as another nugget yet that can assist the Bureau just through extra funding, because we know that even if the pandemic is resolved, that to my earlier point, this is a long crawl out kind of a recovery, that we will need every possible resource funding that we can get. So that was the outgrowth of the idea for refinancing the bond, which basically does not seek new projects or new money, but just to refinance what we have given the interest climate the way it is. So thank you for the opportunity to allow us to testify on this bill. And we all know that the adverse impacts of our government revenues make it very, very difficult for us to make financial ends meet. But the Bureau has been working very closely with GIDA's bond counsel, and Tina Garcia and Joanne's team, and the underwriters to try to develop a timely schedule for this refinancing in an effort to generate some upfront savings for fiscal 2021. And the original expectation, which we are still holding firm to as much as we can, is for delivery by February 2021 at an estimated savings of about 2.9 million for the current fiscal year after debt service, and then another maybe $2 or $3 million each year thereafter until the funds are exhausted. These estimated savings, you would understand, were generated based on interest rates back in July when we first really tossed this idea around with GIDA. And it assumes the timely enactment of legislation for a February 2021 closing date. Again, we're still hopeful that we can keep to that. With the growing uncertainty in our global environment, however, we can anticipate further volatility of the market rates, which may affect the overall costs of the financing at the end of the day. But barring further setbacks, 2021 will be a year that's focused on rebuilding our number one industry. We're working to retool and to adapt to the changes and expectations of this new travel environment. And as visitor demands and motivates shift, or rather motivation shift, we understand the crucial need to reposition our island to accommodate these, global fluctuations. But the drastic reduction in arrivals and the lower operating revenues anticipated puts us all in a difficult position for the years ahead. And we believe that enactment of this legislation into law is not only fiscally responsible for Gov Guam, but we find it particularly important for our efforts in adding to the resources we need for recovering, this industry. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, Nico Fujikawa is also available to assist, as well as the rest of the GVB team. And in particular, I'd be curious to find out more from the GIDA folks, who were very, very supportive in actually helping us, pull this thing together on short notice. So thank you for that, Joanne. Thank you for that, Tina and Diego.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Now, as Joanne, former First Lady, Joanne, if you can please tell us all about the GIDA's role in this and what are we looking at? If you can go ahead and unmute, and if you can please, let's talk about how we're going to take care of GVB through the refinancing.
Okay, let me read my testimony. Is that okay?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
half a day chairperson Joe S. San Agustin, and Senator Therese Terlahi and Senator Tello Taidagui. My name is Joanne Camacho, and I'm the Deputy Administrator of the Guam Economic Development Authority. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony on Bill number 396-35, an act to approve the terms and conditions to refund all or a portion of the Government of Guam Hotel Occupancy Tax Revenue Bond Series 2011A. The Guam Economic Development Authority is in its role as a central financial manager and consultant for the government of Guam, monitors and advises the government when the market conditions are attractive for a refunding of a bond, or in some cases, lease financing. The entire municipal market was in a turmoil a couple months ago due to COVID-19 pandemic, but has since stabilized thanks to the federal action of keeping treasury rates at near zero levels. Initial readings are now showing that there is an opportunity to refund the callable 2011 hot bonds and achieve significant savings for the government of Guam. As an example, earlier this month, we refinanced the 2010 JFK certificate participation, yielding savings of 13.99% or 7.9 million in total debt service savings. The 2011A hot bonds have a current call date of 2021 or 10 years after the bond is issued. A call date is specific time when the bonds can be refunded before it matures without penalty. A tax-exempt bond can still be called or refunded prior to or after its call date, and the new funding bonds will become a taxable bond. The island's tourism industry is struggling to recover from COVID-19 pandemic, and like most tourism-based cities, the industry is in a near standstill today. It would take time and efforts by GITA, the Guam Visitors Bureau, and Guam stakeholders to convince bond analysts and investors that the tourism industry will return and that the hot bonds will be in a secure investment. However, this scenario relies on the immediate passage of this legislation, as it assures our bond investors that the entire government is supportive of the tourism recovery of Guam. GITA reviewed all tax-exempt and taxable scenarios with a goal to identify the portion that provides the most savings to the government. Our initial analysis indicates that it would best serve the government to refund the bonds as early as February 2021, to issue refunding tax-exempt bonds, as the government could reduce interest rates by at least 3 basis points and realize significant upfront savings of at least 18% or approximately 13.4 million. This assumes no extension on the current maturity, a 10-year par call, and lowering of the debt service reserve fund balance to reflect the average debt service of the new bonds. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to provide this testimony in support of the immediate passage of 393-35. Should you have any question, you can contact myself or Melanie Mendiola, our general manager, our CEO, sorry. And with me today, I have our finance manager, Tina Garcia, and our program manager, Diego Mendiola, and just walking into the room, Melanie Mendiola, to answer any questions or concerns that you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Senator Therese, do you have any questions to pose on the GITA folks?
Yes, I do. Thank you. And thank you both for your presentations. And so particularly for GITA, I know that it was stated earlier, but I'm sorry, I didn't. So GVB had estimated an additional savings in the first year of 2.9 million was one of the scenarios they looked at. But what would be the subsequent year's savings if you go with that scenario? 2.3, is that what I heard, or something else? Hi, Tina.
Hi. For fiscal year 2022, and again, we will not have solid numbers until we actually go out to the market. We have about a $3.881 million savings expected for 2022, a $3.883 million savings for 2023, and a $3.891 million savings for 2024.
And 2021?
2021, we agreed with Jerry Perez's statement that it is about 2.9 million.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that. So this is spread out over that number of years. And okay, and then I heard, so the bill currently says 2%, that a minimum of 2% savings in net present value. Do you still recommend that? Can we get a higher percentage, or should we put that in the bill? Or I know Gita always uses its best efforts.
Good day, good afternoon, everyone. As far as the 2% savings, the net present value savings that we're expecting is in excess of 2%. I think again, as Tina had mentioned, it is subject to the interest rate that is finally the true interest rate that's finally achieved. But we are expecting an interest rate or a true interest savings of net present value savings of 18.91%. 18%.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great. Okay.
Senator, maybe I can note for the legislature that when we say 2% savings, we don't mean that when you go out at the old interest rate was 6 and now it's 4. The interest rate savings that we're talking about, or the savings, the percentage savings, the 2% savings that we're talking about is the percentage savings of the payments that you're making through the life of the bond.
Okay. Okay. So, all right, but the language of the bill where it says 2%, then you're saying could say up to 18%. I'm not proposing to do that, but you're saying those are the equivalent. It's the equivalent language.
That's yes, it's fine as it is. Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, then so the only downside, for refunding as opposed to, I know that Gita had talked about other, possibly going out for more projects, but is of course the cost. So do you have an estimate of the cost for something like this?
The costs include, and let me see if we have an estimate, just a moment, let me ask Tina for that, but just for conversational purposes, the cost of issuance include the cost of our investment bankers, and these are the individuals who go out and connect Guam with investors. It also includes the attorney's fees of our bond counsel. It includes Gita's fees, and of note, the fee is along with the fee that Gita gets at that point in time, there's also the annual servicing involved with the bond. And so every year Gita needs to meet with ratings agencies. If there's a major event, Gita needs to meet with Gita, and the Guam Visitors Bureau would need to meet with the ratings agencies. There are out-of-pocket costs that occur in the event that you're traveling to see investors. At this point in time, it's not, or there's the cost associated with the issuance on that front as well. And so it's not clear yet whether or not we'll be doing in-person meetings, or if the meetings will take place via a Zoom or a conference call type of setting. And Tina, am I missing anything? No, I think that's about it.
Did you give, I didn't hear an estimate. Do you have an estimate of what the cost, outside of Gita's, let's separate those. Yeah, so the other costs for the expenses as listed in the bill, yeah, it says it's going to be deducted from the savings and of course paid first. But so just what would that amount be? And then what are you looking at in Gita's fees? And do you set aside money for, you're saying the servicing, for the annual servicing? So you take that money off the front or off of the top and then keep it for the subsequent years at Gita?
It is likely depending on the policy direction of the board with regard to how we set aside the revenue received. The expectation is that Gita will take care of the servicing of the bonds through the life of the bonds. And so it really is the policy direction of the board, whether or not, as far as the budget is concerned, whether or not to set aside a portion of incrementally for every year of the maturity of the bonds. I know that we are aiming not to exceed 2% of the issuance value. So if the issuance value, let me do a calculation real quick.
for all the expenses, you mean, or for? Yeah.
Yes, Senator, all the expenses.
Gita fee would be 158.
GITA fee would be approximately 150,000.
Okay.
150.
And the overall expenses at that rate would be what?
And the overall expense.
Not
One
Okay.
moment, Senator.
You're
Please
saying the
calculate.
overall expenses are at approximately 2% of the issuance value, or just the GITA?
That's correct.
Of
Everything, all in, not to exceed 2%.
Okay. All right. And okay. And then, okay, I have just a couple more questions, Mr. Chair, if you would allow. All right, so the savings here is going to go to GVB, and the bills authorizing that GVB be allowed to use it for operations. It's quite unusual, right? That we are taking bond proceeds used for, well, we're saving payment, bond payments, and we're going to allow you to use it for operations. So I guess I just wanted to find out if you've exhausted all other sources of funds and that you could, you know, use. I know we're trying to exhaust the rainy day fund, but if, in lieu of using this for operations versus using it for a project, you know, that is needed in Tumon or elsewhere. This is to GVB. Yeah, it's talking about the use of the proceeds. Yeah.
Okay. I had mentioned earlier that we foresaw an acute shortage of funding. And so even though it would be like, quote unquote, operational, we have a lot of projects that are really underfunded now in terms of destination product improvement, such as the culvert cleanup and all these other things. So they're not really operational in the normal sense of the word, like for payroll and stuff, but are intended to, you know, fulfill the basic capital projects that we have laid out.
All right, that makes me very glad to hear. So I am very happy to hear that, and I am very concerned about the flooding, just because, yeah, one of the original intents of this hot bond was to take care of the flood mitigation in Tumon. And I know I've watched GVB over the last year really tackle those issues, as well as visitor safety issues. And so I am very happy to support additional efforts in that regard. And I guess if I could just ask Gita one more question. Back in 2017, 5 million of the hot bonds was reprogrammed from flood mitigation for Tumon to, I think it was for the Palacio. But so in January 2018, there was a fiscal note on another bill that indicated that 5 million was in the HRA master plan account, and it was still available at that time. And I'm just wondering if you know if that money is available still, or has it been expended?
Yes, Senator, that money is available still. It has not been expended.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's
Okay.
4.715.
All right. Okay. Mr. Chair, thank you. Again, thank you to all of you for your work on this. And I know that you did the refinancing of the DOE bonds or the JFK bonds, and that you did that on a very expedited in a very expedited manner. So I'm hoping that, yeah, we will be able to pass this bill in time for you to also, yeah, avail of the savings. And I hope the market is favorable for Guam. So thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Therese. Senator Tello, do you have any questions, ma'am?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy day again, everyone, and good to see Melody being here. In fact, this question goes to you, for Gita. Do you think that Moody's, Fitch, and S&P will say about using hotel occupancy taxes as a source of repayment or security given the severe revenue drop?
Well, it's It's hard to say. I think that when it comes to how our ratings agencies or how our investors will receive the source of repayment.
Well, I'm basing this on Moody's and Fitch and S&P. They're
Right.
I know you can't speak for them, you know, but in your capacity, the probability of securing these funds, especially since it's been dropped, you know, substantially.
And then even with some of the religious organizations coming out and saying the government is not fair.
Sorry, you're on mute. Okay, there.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Bond ratings are a function of numerous factors. One of the factors is, of course, what's going on with our tourism. So if our tourism is at a standstill, similar, or if tourism looks like how it looks today in the months coming, that we end up speaking with the ratings agencies, then that could certainly present a challenge to the team. However, another factor in determining a bond rating or in determining an investor's appetite for the bonds also has to do with Guam's basic fundamentals. And fundamentally, if our general fund remains relatively sound, and so one thing that the bond agencies always discuss is that while Guam's industries are concentrated in tourism and military, et cetera, we do have very promising information about the military buildup. One of the items that that at least I've noted at the GWA bond closings that happened recently, as well as the JFK bond closing that happened recently with regard to the tourism industry, is that when any defense spending that comes into Tumon in the way of hotel stays also goes into the tourism attraction fund, however, is not generally part of the forecast made in the Guam Visitors Bureau reports. So if you look at the GVB reports about what they expect to see, they discuss tourism from our source markets, from Japan and Korea, and a minority from Taiwan. It does not talk about the military contribution to the tourism attraction fund. And so that is something that is definitely very, very helpful. And so I think, again, back to your original question was, how do we think that it's going to be, how do we think that this bond will be received? I think that COVID has thrown everybody for a loop, and our investors alike. But I think that the historical behavior behind Guam's ability to meet its obligations, number one. Number two, the ability of the government of Guam to aid when needed. And number three, the conservative estimates that GVB has articulated, coupled with the robust military spending. I think all of those factors will lead to a fair outcome from our ratings agencies and investors.
Thank you for that, Melanie. I'm glad you're optimistic about it, and we're definitely going to keep our fingers crossed too as well, considering the situation we're in. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all the questions I have. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Senator Tello. And you know, for the GVB and Gita, you've always seemed to work the numbers in the States when you're dealing with the bonds. So I'm looking forward to great results for GVB, and I'm really hoping for the best for GVB so we can get the island ready. We got to get ready for just not only our tourism, but for our own people, so we can flood the market down there and start turning things around, because we're not going to stay in this pandemic box forever. I know that for a fact. We're all going to get older. We need to get over this, and let's just move on. Senator Therese, do you have anything else you want to bring up? Other than that, you can close.
No, Mr. Chair, thank you. And thank you to everyone. I don't want to belabor what you've worked very hard on. And I think the point is very clear, and that I look forward to your use of the proceeds in a way that is going to benefit all of Guam. I'm very happy for that. And that I trust Gita is going to do their best to to achieve maximum savings and maximum or least cost, least expenses that we can in this and best value for the people of Guam. Situs Masi, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Therese. There being no additional individuals to present further testimony on this bill, the committee will continue to receive testimony for the next few days because we want to wrap this bill up and get it ready for a session in November. And if there's any testimony to be turned in, to be submitted, please send it through the email at Senator Joe S. @gmail.com. Again, I want to thank everyone for attending the virtual public hearing for Bill 396-35 COR and for providing feedback and suggestions. The virtual public hearing is now adjourned. The time now is 3:04. Sizus Masi, stay safe, folks. Wash your hands, wear a mask, practice social distancing, and Sizus Masi. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And download the app.